Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada. We love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. We love you in Canada and China. We also love you all over Asia. Really want to say thank you for the growth of Big C Sports, but there's still no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful October the 11th, 2019. Brando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, fall has finally arrived. It's cooled down a little bit here in the south, but baseball is heating up. It's at a torrid temperature right now, Charlton, as everybody is in the ALCS and the NLCS series starting tonight.
Well, a lot of people are really loving baseball. I'm glad they're going to bring back Roberts down in L.A., which Madden could stay in Chicago, but it's all fair, love, and war. I want to say Big C Sports is brought to you by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as the fleet of Cadillac cars. I also want to say Big C Sports brought to you by Google and Alexa. Just say Google and Alexa, play Big C Sports podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors. You'll hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate the growth of Big C Sports. Also, Big C Sports is seen on Xfinity Comcast Television, launching soon on Apple TV, Roku TV, Fire Stick TV, also Android TV and other smart TVs all over the universe. I want to know, because there's a lot going on, Big C, the National Suicide Hotline, 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. For military veterans and civilians, you can get help, Big C. Why is that so important to you?
Well, Charlton, we always have troubling times in this country. We have so many deflections that take away from people that are in need. I mean, right now we're in a plethora of sports world where we think about all the national sports that are being played, but we have people in this nation that suffer and struggle every day, Charlton, with anxiety and feeling left out and no place to turn to. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline number is there, Charlton, to speak to somebody, to not be judgmental about you, not to worry about what your background is or what your faith is or what your nationality is, Charlton. They're there to listen to you, hopefully to guide you and give you that help that you need to take you off the edge that you might be thinking about going over, Charlton. But the National Suicide Hotline number is there because we've lost so many veterans to this horrific disease of suicide, Charlton. It's a disease like everything else. And we've lost so many young adolescents and young people to it also. We have to find a way to stem the tide, just like cancer. People talk about cancer. We have to find a way to stem the tide of suicide in this country. And the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number, Charlton, is that first step to doing that.
Yep, all you got to do is tell somebody. Just pick up that phone, 800-273-8255, 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255, that's 838-255. You know, living in California, Big C, we were talking about Northern California, PG&E shutting down power lines so they can prevent fires, wildfires that are started, however, the heat from the generators or whatever it is. And people complain, but I don't think anyone lost a life in Northern California. Well, ironically, Southern California, and it seems to happen almost every year. I don't know if they had the reason for these fires, but fire breaks out in Los Angeles, the largest state in the Union, Big C. In Southern California, if you're familiar with the Grapevine Mountains that connects the Central Valley to Southern California, near the Interstate 210 and Interstate 5, which is the biggest or the longest highway on the west coast from Mexico to Canada, also Highway 14. So if you know the Magic Mountain area, over 23,000 homes and over 100,000 people have been told to evacuate from L.A. area. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this has become an annual event out there in Southern California, Charlton, as people try to get out of the inner cities and move up more and more into nature. Nature continuously reclaims itself.
Yeah.
When you don't have the weed abatement in those dry environments, Charlton, we've seen this year in and year out in California. This is a state that's right next to the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
And they can't seem to find enough water in that state, Charlton, to keep everything green. So it's an horrific event for homeowners, Charlton, to be devastated like that, to potentially lose everything that you worked for in your lifetime. But leave it. That's the reason why you buy insurance. And all of those things can be replaced that are physical possessions other than someone's life.
Very well said. So hopefully heed the warnings. I'm sure it's not going to be put out anytime soon. Hope that people can stay safe, heed the warnings. I want to get into Big C's Friday Night Lights. I know we have a big schedule tonight, Big C. Number 1, Southern California, modern day Santa Ana. They're playing at home versus Servite High School of Anaheim. Also, St. John Bosco out of Bellflower playing at J. Sarah Catholic in Southern California. And then you have the number 3 team in the country, IMG Academy of Bradenton, Florida. They're playing Life Christian Academy, Chester, Virginia. That's another school from Florida playing Virginia, Big C. I guess travel doesn't affect high school teams nowadays. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as I've always been an advocate of, I like the local rivalries that you grow up with when you're a kid, kids that you've gone to school with and that you'll see year in and year out. The travel for kids, I don't think is good because when you look at the academia, what do you put first? What day do these kids leave school and travel to another state to play somebody else? I mean, I guess it's great for the recruiting trail as far as you're trying to prep kids for college, but you have to think, do these kids lose something in totality in the end?
They have to, Big C. Lake Highland, Dallas, Texas at number 4, Duncan, Texas. Number 5 is on a bye tonight. And we have number 6, St. Thomas Aquinas, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They're playing Plantation, Florida, so they're staying home. And rounding out the top 10, you have St. Louis, Honolulu, Hawaii at number 7 in the country. They're playing Waianae on the islands. Number 8, Lakeland, Florida, playing Durant out of Plant City, Florida. And then Our Lady of Good Counsel in Ohlone, Maryland, playing number 9, Gonzaga, Washington. Number 10, Katy, Texas, playing Morton Ranch from Katy, Texas as well. So getting into a lot of the league play, we just ask all the young players out there tonight from all over this great country, Big C, please be safe. Don't do anything foolish. Don't let anyone drink and drive. You got to keep an eye out for your teammate and sometimes just your classmate. But Big C, why is that message so important? We know teenagers can succumb to peer pressure at times. What's your advice to people going out and having a good time, but don't do anything foolish, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of that comes down to the parental guidance that they have at home, Charlton. If you respect your parents and their well wishes about if you being brought up right, then you're not going to succumb to peer pressure. Peer pressure comes from when you don't have that rites of passage in life, when you don't have parents to teach you the proper things.
Yeah, so hopefully heed that warning and hopefully have a great night out enjoying high school football. Big C's Friday Night Lights. Big C, I want to get into WNBA. I want to celebrate. I mean, it's always great when we think about it. The Washington Mystics, Emma Misselman was an X factor throughout the entire playoffs and was named WNBA Final MVP for her stellar performance following the 89-78 victory over the Connecticut Sun. And Misselman came up off the bench, put up more than 20 points in 3 of 5 games that she averaged almost 18 points a game, Big C. She shot 57% overall, and she was 50% from 7 of 14 from three-point range. That's better than NBA talent. She also grabbed 4.6 rebounds a game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the ladies' game and how it has grown, Charlton, over the past decade, matter of fact, the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And when you think about having a 6-man winning the MVP, we saw that several years back with Andre Iguodala of the Golden State Warriors when he came off the bench when the Warriors won the first of their 3 titles, Charlton. And now we're getting this with the Washington Mystics in the WNBA. They posted the league MVP just like the Warriors did also at that time in Elena Deladonna, but she had been struggling with a herniated disc in her back, even though she put on and fought gallantly, Charlton, and helped propel her team to their first title in 3 tries in the WBA finals.
Yep.
This is a great boast for team play when you think about basketball. The sad thing about the NBA, Charlton, the WNBA, is that when you think about the total salary of this league, the total salary of the WNBA is $11.79 million.
Yeah.
That covers all the women that are playing in the league. And most of those women today, Charlton, after that championship, had to jump a flight to fly over to Europe because most of those players have to go to Europe to earn the most money that they're going to earn throughout the year playing in European basketball.
That's amazing.
Ironically, our WNBA players earn 2 to 3 times the salary playing in the European League than what they do in the WNBA.
That's amazing, Big C. But congratulations. I know progress doesn't happen overnight. Look at how long it took the NFL to start breaking the bank, Big C. I want to just say also another word of congratulations to Major League Baseball, because there's been some good baseball played where you can have road teams winning, and that's what's happened in the National League. In the American League, we have the champions are the favorites, but they've actually wrapped it up. So congratulations, good old boys down in Texas. Houston Astros, they spotted Garrett Cole with a 4-run lead as they shut down the Tampa Bay Rays by the score of 6-1 last night. Cole had 25 strikeouts in his 2 starts. Big C, that's second most in championship series history. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, that's second most behind the great Bob Gibson back in 1964 when the St. Louis Cardinals won the World Series, and after that they lowered the mound in baseball because Bob Gibson was such a dominant pitcher.
Yeah.
And when you have an ERA of just over 1.5 for an entire season, they felt that this African-American pitcher had a disadvantage over all the players in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
But this is what the Astros were looking for last night. Garrett Cole, when you get a lead for him, he is just going to come in and be lights out. And he proved that once again. 2 starts in this series, 25 strikeouts, Charlton, basically unhittable. And the Astros went on to a 6-1 victory last night over the Rays.
Isn't it amazing that 2 teams with a dome stadium, not that many dome stadiums in the Major League Baseball, but 2 got there, and they really support their team down in Houston, Texas. So looking forward to that series versus the Yankees coming up over the weekend. I want to start tonight. It's kind of cold in St. Louis. We talked about the St. Louis Arch and how that thing was welded together as the sun heated the atmosphere to a certain degree, and they were able to bend it easier. The Washington Nationals at the St. Louis Cardinals tonight in the game 1 of the NLCS. Neither team has barely had a chance to catch their breath collectively, Big C. Game 1 starters will be St. Louis, Miles McCullers, with a 2.81 ERA, 37 strikeouts, 9 walks over his past 7 starts. Now, on the other hand, on the mound, when you look at his competition, you have Washington starter, you have Anibal Sanchez. He's 3.28 ERA in his past 8 start, Big C's, including a solid 5 innings to start Game 3 versus the LA Dodgers. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, these are not the desired starters for either team, Charlton, but this is the best you have to go with tonight. And Game 1 is very pivotal. And really, when you look at it, for the home team, the St. Louis Cardinals, you want to go out there, Charlton, and throw your best stuff in the first inning.
Yeah.
You want to pitch the first inning like it's the 9th inning. You want to get batters out so that you take away any mental momentum that the Nationals may have after coming off that epic victory in Los Angeles the other night, Charlton.
Yep.
So when you look at the Cardinals, they need to come out when they start this game. You need to have a 1, 2, 3 inning. So when you go back to the dugout, your teammates will say, okay, we got this.
Yeah.
And so you want to motivate them by getting them out, because if you give the Nationals any sign of life in the first inning, it's going to be a long night for the Cardinals.
Well, it should be a dynamic matchup, and both of these teams are really stacked, Big C, so looking forward to that. I want to swing it across to the American League. Now, that game starts on Saturday, and it's going to be down in Texas again with the New York Yankees traveling south to play the Houston Astros. And I know everybody has their own opinion about what team's better. The Yankees have the name, of course. Houston has the pitching. But I want to get your thoughts on what we can really expect to see with dominant hitters. You have closers that can close. This might be the best pitching that we've seen, at least so far, in Major League Baseball, the playoffs. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, when I was looking at the Minnesota Yankees series, Charlton, I thought that this would be a home run battle. I still think that same thing about the Houston, New York scenario, Charlton. I'm thinking it's going to be a home run battle. You're going to have great conditions inside the dome there in Houston, so the weather won't be a factor. And you get a little more humidity in Houston, so that ball has a tendency to carry.
Yeah.
And Houston, they've been there over the past couple of years. The Yankees are short. So Houston understands what it is to get there. They got 3 great starting pitchers. I know the Yankees have the bullpen, but they haven't been healthy all year. It's been man up, next man by committee with the Yankees.
Yep.
Will that be enough to get them through this series? I know they didn't have trouble with the Minnesota Twins. They swept them in that 5-game series. They won 3 consecutive games. But did they have too much rest? The time we see in the playoffs, that players have been surrounded. They haven't seen live pitching, and now they're going to be facing live pitching with three of the best arms in the American League.
Yeah, well, they'll be Thickup versus Greinke, and I would give Greinke the lead in that one just because. But if it comes down to closing, then I trust Chapman more in having to close at 100-mile-per-hour pitches. So we look for that starting tomorrow and down in Texas. A lot of good things happening in Texas. Big C, I know we always do everything that we can to just keep abreast of what's going on in the world of sports. And I want to just start out as we get into college football. I know a lot of times, there's a lot of big games, but I want to just start out by talking about some of the top 10 of the HBC's, Big C's thoughts on historical black college football, and not waiting like a lot of the other programs that will go out to different game sites, usually at some school, and they'll do their whole show on those blue blood programs. But I wanted to start out giving props to the top 10 teams in Big C's black college football. Number 1, Southern University out of the SWAC. Number 2, North Carolina A&T out of the MEAC. Number 3, they're Alabama State, followed out of the SWAC conference. Number 4, Florida A&M University out of the MEAC. Number 5, Grambling State University out of the SWAC. And again, no matter what the records are, they're rarely on television unless it's some abstract cable TV program. But your feeling as to why it's so important that we actually choose to pay attention to the Big C's black college football games. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I wish that the whole country would pay attention to the African-American University, the historical black colleges, Charlton, because they've been such a great segue of professional athletes that have come out of these universities, not because of football, but they've come from the NBA, Major League Baseball, Charlton. They've been great competitive universities, not just academically, but athletically.
Yeah.
And for them to be shunned basically by all the national broadcast media companies, whether it's radio, television, cable, it is a wrongdoing. It just shows how blacks have been ostracized over the years, not just in society, but even in sports.
Yeah, it started with Eurocentric teaching in schools versus Afrocentric teaching in schools, and it's still the same in sports world. So there's a lot of programs that did one thing to grandstand on the first week of football for the HBC. After that, you haven't heard a peep out of it, but Big C Sports will always keep it going. Number 6, Jackson State University out of the SWAC. And you have number 7, Norfolk State University out of the MEAC, followed by number 8, Coppin State University, also out of the MEAC. Number 9, Texas Southern University out of the SWAC conference, and followed up by number 10, Delaware State University out of the MEAC. I love bringing the HBCs and Big C style to the universe, Big C, just because of two things. We're more than just athletes. And I know I'm not criticizing anybody. People have their own flavor. Some people don't like what we do. Always saying Google it and check our facts. But what's important to me is just to let people know that just like black history was omitted pre-civil rights movement, Big C, Plessy versus Ferguson, Brown versus Board of Education, it also happened on the athletic realm, where doors have been opened for the most part in mainstream university for the black athlete. That means they'll spend money on you going to school as opposed to you having to get a scholarship or a loan to go to that program. I love bringing the educational attainment that the HBCs have offered, Big C, in the classroom as well as the sporting field. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the HBCs, they are always going to be there as part of the black community.
Yeah.
That's always been a haven for black education, and it still maintains that today. Unfortunately, the athletic programs don't get funded by mainstream media. They don't broadcast the game, so they don't have the revenue to constantly improve their athletic facilities.
Yeah.
So, the only way that they do that, Charlton, is by playing these big conference schools, hopefully to get a little money to fund their athletic programs. But that's an unfortunate thing. Television should help out a little more.
Well, we love doing our part. Big C's thoughts on Big C's black college football, and we love bringing it to you. Just tell a friend, follow Big C Sports to hear more about black college football all over the universe. Big C, I want to get into Big C's college football games. We just give our thoughts. We don't know how to tell you who's going to win, but we can give our thoughts on why teams have a chance. Number 19 tonight, Big C. Number 19, Virginia, 4-1 at Miami, Florida, 2-3. It's on ESPN. 8 o'clock kickoff Eastern Time start. Miami's favored by 2 over Virginia. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Miami's made a change at quarterback tonight, hoping to kickstart their offense. Virginia coming off that tough loss last week at home to Notre Dame. Can they rebound from that emotional letdown?
They'll have to do that, Big C. Also, Colorado State 1-5 at New Mexico 2-3. The big game on the West Coast, Colorado 3-2 at number 13, Oregon 4-1. It's a 10 o'clock kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports 1. Artificial surface, and Oregon's favored by 21 at home. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Oregon has had a few letdowns when they've had big games at home at this point of the season, Charlton, where they've been heavily favored. Can they escape that against Colorado tonight in a conference game?
They only scored 17 total against Cal last week. How they're going to spread 21, I don't know. On Saturday, the big matchups, you have South Carolina 2-3 at number 3, Georgia 5-0. Trying to avoid the upset is a noontime kickoff ESPN on grass surface. And the Bulldogs are favored by 24 points, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, at this point, Charlton, the Bulldogs may cover that in the first half. South Carolina doesn't have a chance. The Dogs are just a very dominant team right now. Kirby Smart has them on track.
Yeah, they are rolling. The big game, the Red River Shootout, Big C. Number 5, Oklahoma. They're 5-0. At number 11, Texas 4-1. That game's in Dallas. It's still considered a neutral site. Noontime kickoff on Fox Sports. A grass surface, and Oklahoma's favored by 10.5 over Texas. Big C, you don't say. Your thoughts?
Well, this was a game last year where Texas came up big in this Red River Shootout. Sam Ellinger arrived as a quarterback on the national scale. But, you know, this is a whole new year. Oklahoma has a new quarterback. Jalen Hurts right now is the most dynamic quarterback in college football. And being a Dallas native, Charlton, he's looking to have a great homecoming at the Cotton Bowl.
Well, he's going to need it. I think Oklahoma's only trailed by 2 minutes total this year. That team is really rolling, Big C, ranked number 5 in the country. Another big game, but this was up in the Midwest. Number 16, Michigan, 4-1 at Illinois, 2-3. Now, why is that a big game? Because of the eyes of Michigan are on the Wolverines and Coach Harbaugh. Noontime kickoff, ABC Sports, artificial surface, and the Wolverines are favored by 22.5. Big C, they barely scored 22 points in the game. Your thoughts?
Well, Michigan, Jim Harbaugh says the offense is on track and they've worked out all the kinks. We're going to find out if they have any kinks in that armor, Charlton, against Illinois. The Final Illini, and Lovie Smith needs to have a victory, and this is, Michigan is primed for that because they haven't been scoring a lot of points.
That's very true. Number 20, Memphis, they're 5-0. Nobody knows it, but they're 5-0, ranked number 20. They're at Temple. Temple's 4-1. Big C, these teams are actually playing good football. Noontime to kickoff, ESPN2 on grass surface. Memphis favored by 5.5. They'll probably get it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Memphis has always had one of the electrifying offenses in Conference USA over the last 4 years. They've turned out a great wealth of NFL talent on the offensive side of the football, Charlton.
Yep.
They should do this game at ease at home.
Another big game that a lot of people may not pay attention to is number 1, Alabama. They're 5-0. They're at number 21, Texas A&M. It's as if Texas A&M to still be ranked in the country with 2 losses, and they have only 3 wins. It's a 3:30 kickoff, CBS Sports. On grass surface, Alabama's favored by 17. I don't know if this A&M is that good. You've lost 2 out of your 5 games already, and now they're 17-point dogs to Bama, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, the quarterback genius coach, Jimbo Fisher, just hasn't been able to get the job done in his second season at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is ranked number 24 in the country. This is Alabama's first top 25 opponent of the season. Texas A&M won't be ranked in the top 25 next week.
Yeah, they put in the web polls 21-25, but we'll see what happens by tomorrow. You have Florida State 3-2. They have the same record as Florida State. Why are they ranked 21 and Florida State? They're saying fire their coach. Think about it, Big C. They're at number 2, Clemson, 5-0. Hasn't been that impressive, though, this season. 3:30 kickoff time on the Big Ten Network, artificial surface. And think about this, too. On ABC Sports, I beg your pardon. And Clemson's favored by 26.5 at home versus Florida State, which used to own that conference. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of the problems with Clemson is that they were reading the press clippings of everybody talking about how great they were and how great Trevor Lawrence was, and he was the best player that they've seen in college football in a long time. And a lot of situations like that, you start pressing as young players. Clemson is a very young team. Even though they won the national championship, they sent a host of players to the NFL last year.
Yep.
So they're playing a lot of first and second year starters this year, Charlton. And I think that if they're going to get off the snide and start playing Clemson football, it should happen this week.
Well, it's going to have to happen this week. Big C, a really big game in the Big Ten. Michigan State, 4-2 on the season. At number 8, Wisconsin, 5-0. That's a 3:30 time kickoff on the Big Ten Network, East Coast time. Wisconsin's favored by 10.5 at home on artificial surface. 10.5 is a lot, but they just might get it, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Wisconsin is looking to keep everything rolling towards the Big Ten championship game, Charlton. They've undefeated at this point, and they actually have the top-ranked defense in the country, so I don't see them struggling at all against Michigan.
Well, Ohio State jumped on them last week. It's going to be tough for Coach D'Antonio. Big C on the West Coast. Washington State, they've fallen on hard times, 3-2, and they're at number 24. Arizona State, 4-1. 3:30 kickoff, Pac-12 on the Pac-12 network. Now, Arizona State's favored by 1.5, but I want to bring up something about media bias. Just my thoughts. Washington State can throw the ball with anybody. They're 3-2. I know they've dropped 2 games. They're not ranked. Texas A&M is 3-2, and they're ranked between 21 and 25 in the country, Big C. But give me your thoughts on this this is a big game for Washington State, Big C. Your thoughts?
It's a big game for Washington State, but see, Texas A&M draw 100,000 people to their stadium.
Yep.
Washington State can't draw 40,000. So when you talk about media bias, Charlton, a lot of that's based on what you can bring to a stadium and the excitement that you can bring. Washington State is a team that's going to create problems for Arizona State. When you
I think we're having a little bit of static in your phone, Big C. We'll clear it up just a
defense
second.
that can keep up with them. I know they've had a couple of tough losses,
Yep.
but this is a game that Arizona's right to fall.
Yeah, it's a tough game. We'll see what happens. And now, I wanted to take you down south. You have Mississippi State 3-3 at Missouri 4-1, quietly 4-1. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff, ESPN2 on artificial surface. In Missouri, the good old boys are favored by 12, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Missouri's quarterback, Kelly Bryant, the transfer from Clemson, was a little banged up last week. He's gotten clearance to play in this game. So if he's healthy, Missouri's offense will be clicking.
Well, it should be a great game there. Also, a team that's under the radar, hard to say that when they're undefeated, number 9, Penn State, they're 5-0. They're at number 18, Iowa. The Hawkeyes are 4-1. They have lost by the skin of their fingernails at Michigan. 7:30 kickoff, ABC Sports. Artificial surface, Penn State's favored by 3.5. That's kind of low compared to a team that scored 3 points at the Big House. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Iowa only scored 3 points last week, so all Penn State needs to do technically cover the line and score a point. But when you look at the front 7 for Penn State, they probably have the best front 7 in the Big Ten. Under the radar, yes, they are. But this is Coach Franklin's best job of coaching since he's been at Penn State.
Well, he's up against a good one this weekend, Big C. One of the biggest rivalries, I think, East Coast, West Coast, Southern California, and again, all the evacuations down there, hopefully that's not affecting the players. But Southern California's 3-2 at number 10, Notre Dame 4-1, 7:30 kickoff on NBC Sports. And Notre Dame is favored by 10.5 on artificial surface. Just want to bring this up one more time for West Coast media. USC 3-2. They're not ranked. Texas A&M, they're 3-2, ranked between 21 and 25 in the country, depending on the polls. Has the USC Notre Dame game, does it mean there was a time when people said Kelly had to win that game to keep his job? Now it goes to Clay Helton, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, as I look at this game, Charlton, will this game even be a fight for the Fighting Irish? They're going to dominate USC.
Well, they hope so. In Notre Dame and Southern Cal, they're hoping to bring a little magic. They can't bring will they let a white horse get under the airplane? That's a good question, Big C. Your thoughts?
He might end up in a barbecue if he does, Charlton.
Well, they can bless him with a touchdown. Jesus, that would be funny. Horses for barbecue. Only down south, Big C. Louisville 3-2 at number 17. Wake Forest 5-0. That's a 7:30 kickoff, ACC Network. Wake Forest favored by 6.5. I got a big game in the Big Ten. Nebraska's 4-2. They're at number 25. Under the radar, Minnesota, they're 5-0, Big C, the Golden Gophers. 7:30 kickoff, Fox Sports 1. Artificial surface, Minnesota's favored by 7.5 points, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Minnesota will walk through Nebraska. Nebraska just doesn't have the personnel yet. And as you think about B.J. Flick, the coach in Minnesota, he has this program that is bought into his mentality of coaching. He did the same thing at Western Michigan. Now that he's in Minnesota in the Big Ten, he's competing for Big Ten supremacy.
He really is competing for that. A couple more games on Big C's thoughts for college football before we jump into the world of Big C's thoughts on the NFL. We have Washington Huskies 4-2, a disappointing 4-2, I might add, at Arizona. 4-1, Big C. Their only loss was by the skin of their fingernails at Hawaii, first game of the season. Big C, it's an 11 o'clock p.m. kickoff on the East Coast. That's why you don't see Pac-12 11 p.m. kickoff, artificial surface, and Washington's favorite by 5.5 in the desert. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, it's hard to have an early kickoff in the desert. In Arizona, even this time of the year, you're going to have temperatures in the 90s reaching up to 100 degrees, which is unhealthy for those young athletes, Charlton. And as you say, disappointment in the Pac-12. You have Arizona, who is 4-1.
Yeah.
Washington's ranked ahead of them with two losses.
Yeah, and M's also ranked ahead of them with 2 losses. Just think about that, Big C. Hawaii 4-1 at number 14, Boise State 5-0 on the season. That's a 10:15 kickoff, ESPN2, East Coast time, artificial surface. I don't like the blue turfers. I think that's enough. I mean, go back to green, Big C. That's my opinion. But it's a great recruiting tool. Boise State by 12.5. Your thoughts?
Well, Boise State has had that blue turf up there for well over 30, 40 years. So that's the iconic figure at their university. Just like Notre Dame has touchdown Jesus,
yeah.
Boise State has the blue turf.
Blue turf. Big C, final thought on college football. This is a really big game. When you think about big games, it doesn't get much bigger than this. You have number 7, Florida. They're 6-0 in this season. They're at number 5, LSU, 5-0 in this season. It's down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff, East Coast time on ESPN. It's on a grass surface, and LSU is favored by 5 points against a defense like Florida. That's incredible, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Florida has an outstanding defense, but you also got to understand that LSU is averaging 55 points a game in offense. They have tremendous athletes, and now they have a quarterback in Joe Burrow who is throwing 5 touchdown passes every time he walks out on the field. So as I look at this game between Florida and LSU, it's hard to say from anybody in the media that the winner of this game does not deserve to be the number 1 team in the country. When you look at the toughness of schedule that both of these teams have played, Florida knocked off number 7 last week, Auburn. When you look at LSU, at that time, they knocked off number 7, Texas, at the time when they beat them. So when you think about strength of schedule, Charlton, these are the only 2 teams thus far who've gone out and knocked off 2 nationally ranked teams in the top 10.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's one of the things I really love about college football. You get a chance to earn it on the field no matter how people are ranked. It's just a matter of perception at times. I want to come up on what's called the Big C pause. We'll take the pause, and we're going to come back and talk heavy on these thoughts on football, and we hope that you'll come back and join us. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back from the Big C Timeout, also known as the Big C Pause, on the Big C Sports Network. And you can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week around the world on the #1 podcast network in the universe on iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Spreaker.com. You can follow Big C Sports on Xfinity, Comcast Television. But I really love the apps by Google or Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors. You'll hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the Mystic, and he'll do his thing, and I really appreciate the growth with Big C Sports. Also launching soon on Roku TV, Fire TV, Android TV, and Smart TVs, following Big C Sports already on Xfinity, Comcast Television. I want to get into just giving a shout out before we get into some more football. I want to give a shout out to former pro football running back DeAngelo Williams and his 53 Foundation. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, DeAngelo Williams was a running back with the Carolina Panthers. DeAngelo Williams, we're in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Charlton, and the NFL really does a great job of bringing awareness to this horrific disease that has affected so many Americans and women around the world, even men. DeAngelo Williams lost his mother at the age of 53 to breast cancer awareness. Since then, he has started this foundation. And when he started this foundation is that he was funding mammograms for 53 women a year, Charlton, when he first started this foundation for early detection for potential breast cancer, Charlton. This program has expanded extensively under DeAngelo Williams, his foundation. When we think about how breast cancer and chemotherapy affects so many people in America, Charlton. And many women don't have the funds for early screening for breast cancer awareness. D'Angelo Williams has been a great spokesperson to fight and combat this disease. We hear so many negative things about current and former players in domestic violence and other horrific things that they get involved in, Charlton. But we don't speak enough, or does the media speak enough about the good things that NFL athletes do for women? And D'Angelo Williams, just like the running back that used to play at Florida State and for the Atlanta Falcons, whose mother was a police officer, Charlton, and he had the foundation, and his name eludes me at the moment. It'll come back to me. But here it is, D'Angelo Williams taking it out on himself to make sure that women get proper health screening. Warren Dunn was the running back that I'm speaking about that built the homes for unwed mothers.
That's right.
But D'Angelo Williams is taking it out on himself that women get the proper health screening, Charlton, for early detection for breast cancer.
Well, that's a great cause, and really appreciate people that do good things for people. I want to just take a quick U-turn, because just hearing about the Williams Foundation, 53 Foundation, appreciate that. Now, sometimes you go under the radar when you do good things, and when you do bad things, sometimes it's covered up. You know, Rudy Giuliani is POTUS's right-hand man, and some of his associates were arrested. His business associates accused of funneling foreign money into United States campaigns, over $1 million. Now, Rudy says he likes to see people bending over on their hands and knees begging for when they get in trouble. This good old boy is crooked. I know he's Donald Trump's right-hand man, but there's so much that's crooked about some people in power, and they get a pass, Big C. And I think the Foundation, 53 Foundation, helping women with the cancer, nobody knows about it. I'm glad you brought it up. Everybody knows about the garbage going on in D.C. Rudy Giuliani, why is he still on the forefront, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he doesn't want to be on the forefront anymore. Actually, the president threw him under the bus today. But the amazing part about this is that the president said he didn't know these men.
Really?
But yet these men were in the Trump hotel in Washington, D.C.
with his son,
having dinner with his son, Donald Jr. So the president has no knowledge of who these men are, but his son has firsthand knowledge of them because he's sitting down having dinner with them in a photograph.
Yeah, that's what friends are for. I guess nobody has unclean hands. But I just wanted to bring that out. 53 Foundation, a lot of people didn't know about that. Giuliani, people know he's crooked, but they keep giving him a pass. It's a shame, but it's all fair in love and war. I want to jump back into the world of football. Whoa, Canada, our home and native land. CFL football, Big C style, Eastern Division standings. Hamilton 12-3, Montreal 8-6, another celebrating the Washington Nationals, Big C. Ottawa, they're 3-8. Toronto's 2-12 in the West Division. Saskatchewan is 10-4, followed by Calgary 9-5. Winnipeg is 9-6. Edmonton 7-8, and British Columbia Lions are 5-10. And Calgary, Saskatchewan and Calgary and Winnipeg have clinched playoff spots, as well as Hamilton and Montreal. A lot of football happening in Canada. I guess we'll get snow for their championship game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I can imagine it's cold up there right now, Charlton. It's a place that I wouldn't want to be coming from the south.
Yeah, obviously but they got a lot of ice, and you do love ice. Speaking of ice, Tom Brady was not ice last night. He just was not. We talked about Kershaw having his check engine light coming on. Tom Brady throwing an interception and fumbling. Had his check engine light on last night, but they still won. Tom Brady passes the great Peyton Manning last night, second place all-time in yardage passing list in NFL history, Big C, as the Patriots get off to their fourth 6-0 start in franchise history. The New York Giants rookie quarterback Daniel Jones, he had a come back down to earth moment, Big C. He had 2 games. He's 15 of 31, 161 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and I know it's old news, but Colin Kaepernick can't even get a tryout. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, everyone has to be a little careful on how quick they anoint someone the next greatest one. After his first game against Tampa Bay, everybody was saying Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Last night he could complete 50% of his passes in the NFL in less than 165 yards passing in a game, led by 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
So the Giants' offense was in disarray. You know, the excuse today is that he was without his. Well, as a quarterback, you're supposed to be the weapon on a team. The Patriots, this is a team that's winning by committee.
Yeah.
The offense is not playing up to Patriots standards. Even though they won the game by 24 last night, Charlton, they're still not playing up to Patriots standards. But when you look at that defense of the Patriots, once again, they allowed one score on defense last night. One was a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Yep.
But that defense of the Patriots, Charlton, is just outstanding. One of the best that we've seen in the last decade in the NFL.
No, they are actually excellent, Big C. And it's amazing how the New York Giants, when he scored a touchdown, and I think the running back, the receiver, number 10, got hurt. But the way he contorted his body and stretched across the goal line, you don't expect that out of defensive players. That was amazing, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you want to get into the end zone. It's one of the highlights of a defensive player's career to be able to return for a score, however you get it, whether it's a fumble return or a pick return. And then the receiver was Gordon, who injured his knee on that play because he was hit by another defender that was trying to make the tackle. Just one of those unfortunate incidents in the football. But the Patriots defense rose up all night long with the interceptions and fumble recoveries against the Giants.
Yeah, friendly fire it was. I want to get into Big C's thoughts on NFL football and some games that matter, this weekend. Russell Wilson, Seattle. Matt Ryan, Atlanta. Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys. Jameis Winston, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Deshaun Watson, Houston. The Texans, Patrick Mahomes, or as you call them, Mahomes, Kansas City. Lamar Jackson, Baltimore. The great Tom Brady. Carson Wentz, well, of course, New England. Carson is New England. For the Patriots is Brady. Wentz for Philadelphia. Jacoby Brissett, Indianapolis. Think about that as we run down Big C's thoughts on Big C's NFL. I'm going to get started right away, Big C. We have a week with Bears, the Bills, the Colts, and the Raiders. They all have a bye. 3-2. Carolina Panthers versus the Bears, 2-3. Something has to give. TV, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, kickoff Sunday on the NFL Network. And the Panthers are favored by 1.5. Is that a missed field goal or a fumble for the half, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, what I want to do, Charlton, is go back to that list of quarterbacks that you just named off. You named off 10 quarterbacks as I counted.
Yeah.
7 of those quarterbacks, Charlton, are African Americans. Of those 10 quarterbacks that you named, and 7 of them are African Americans, they lead the NFL in touchdown passes. You think about that. Through 5 weeks of the NFL season, Charlton, 7 of the top touchdown throwers in the NFL are African American starting quarterbacks.
Wow.
Only 3 quarterbacks rank in the top 10 in touchdown passes in the NFL after 5 weeks of the season. That list is led by Russell Wilson, who leads the league with 12. Go down to Jacoby Brissett, who's on the bottom with 10. So as you look at those numbers and people saying that, African Americans should not be playing quarterback in the NFL, that this is a league that is driven by white quarterbacks, that they are franchise players, you have to ask yourself, after 5 weeks in the NFL season, Charlton, of those top 10 quarterbacks on touchdown passes and from are African Americans, why don't they get more praise from the media? Not only that, Charlton, you got a backup African American quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
On the pace that he is, he started 3 games this season. In those 3 games, he has 6 touchdown passes. So by ratio, if he had started 5 games, Charlton, he would be in double digits, and you would have 11 African American backs leading the NFL in touchdown passes out of the top 11.
That's very good stats because most are not wanting. They give them the chance begrudgingly, but we all understand that it's all fair and love and war. We'll mention some of their games and Big C's thoughts on NFL action in the final half of our program. Panthers 3-2 versus the Bucks 2-3. 9:30 a.m. kickoff Eastern Time Sunday network. Panthers by 1.5 points. That's very safe. For your thoughts?
Well, it's very slim. I mean, Jameis Winston right now is playing like a quarterback should play. Brian Leftwich is his offensive coordinator in Tampa, and now he's gotten the tutelage that he wants to listen to, Charlton. Kyle Allen has been playing outstanding for the Carolina Panthers. He's 4-0 in his 4 starts as an NFL starter. 1 game last year and 3 games this year. Something has to give, as you say. He has Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. It's going to come down to see how big a play Mike Evans is, the wide receiver for Tampa Bay. I think he'll be the difference maker in the game.
Looking forward to that. The big 0-5 at the Ravens 3-2 as 1 o'clock kickoff Sunday East Coast time on CBS Sports. And the Ravens are favored by 10.5 over another NFL team. Big C, your thoughts?
Is Marvin Lewis still coaching in Cincinnati?
No.
Okay, so they can't blame him for the 0-5 start. So I guess Zach Taylor has not delivered the goods that everybody said he was going to deliver, that he'd be the quarterback whisperer after being the offensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Rams. The thing about it, Charlton, he couldn't bring any of the Rams players with him. Baltimore and Lamar Jackson in a runaway.
Well, I'm really happy for Jackson's success, Big C. Number 3, the Seattle Seahawks, they're 4-1 at the Browns 2-3. This is a sea change game for either team. It's a 1 p.m. kickoff East Coast time Sunday on Fox Sports. And the Seahawks are favored by 1.5 at the Browns. Is something going on in Vegas with that point spread, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I think after the game, the Browns might have a little motion sickness. You know, that Seattle defense will get after Bakefield. Seattle has proven they have an outstanding secondary, that they played the range really tight, Charlton, and Jared Goff didn't have a big day. Jared Goff is a much more efficient passer than Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield right now mentally is just not in the game of football. The Browns will struggle in this game against the Seahawks.
I'm telling you, that defense is it for Seattle. The Saints 4-1 at the Jaguars 2-3. 1 o'clock kickoff East Coast today on CBS Sports. And the Jaguars are favored 1.5, Big C. No Rams odds.
Well, you know, the Jacksonville Jaguars tried to sign Teddy Bridgewater, but he decided to stay with the Saints. They lost Nick Foles. But Gunnar Minshew has been an outstanding young quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that Leonard Fournette will not have the big game for the Jaguars this week, and the Saints are much better defensively than what people gave them credit for. They will get after Gunnar Minshew. He'll have a good game, but I think that Teddy will come marching in the end.
And running back Alvin Kamara is a real threat on the ground, too. The Texans 3-2 at the Chiefs 4-1. What a big game coming up, 1 o'clock Eastern Time Sunday on CBS Sports. And the Chiefs are favored by 4.5. 2 excellent marquee quarterbacks that no one wanted like 10 years ago, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you think about 2 of the most dynamic young quarterbacks in the NFL. They were both taken together in 2017, just 2 picks apart. You know how everybody's talked about my boy Patrick Mahomes, last year's MVP.
Yeah.
2 years ago, Deshaun Watson was on that same pace.
That's right.
If not for that horrific knee injury that he had, Charlton, we would have been talking about him like Patrick Mahomes. He was setting records down to the 7th game of the season, Charlton, and he did not start the first 2 games of the season. Look at these quarterbacks and how their careers parallel. This is a pick-em game. Yeah. I mean, Patrick is a little bit with the ankle. Deshaun came from a career game with over 500 yards passing last week against the Atlanta Falcons. This is a pick-em game, but I like Houston in this game because when you look at Kansas City's offensive defensive line, Charlton, both of them were beat up after last week.
Yeah, they could not stop the run in their last game, Big C. You have the Redskins 0-5 and their dysfunction at the Miami Dolphins 0-4. Big C, somebody's going to be popping bubbly this weekend, Big C. 1 o'clock kickoff East Coast time Sunday on Fox Sports, and the Redskins are favored by 3.5. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a rematch of the 1972 Super Bowl, and I believe the 1984 Super Bowl, both in Los Angeles and Pasadena.
Yeah.
Something has to give in this game, Charlton. Neither one of these teams want to win a game, but one of them will have to win a game. That's where I'll leave it.
Well, they played to win the game, and somebody won this week, Big C. The Eagles 3-2 at the Vikings 3-2. 1 o'clock kickoff Eastern Time Sunday on Great Fox Sports. And the Vikings are favored by 3.5 with 2 marquee media quarterbacks. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, your cousin has become a liability in Minnesota as far as what they're going to do successfully. You think about him, he's only beat 1 quarterback with a winning record. If he was able to beat Carson Wentz this weekend, it would be 2 since he's been a quarterback in the NFL. I think the Vikings fall short against the Eagles in that passing attack.
Big C, who's America's most prodigal favorite quarterback? You know they tried to build up both quarterbacks. One at least was at a Super Bowl on the sideline, even though he didn't leave that was the great Nick Foles, not the great Carson Wentz. And then Cousins, they just gave him money based on a losing record. And I want people to Google that. They got money based on a losing record, and guys like Kaepernick still can't get a job who went to the Super Bowl. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Cousins was pressured by the media to get a big contract. Carson Wentz has done more productivity-wise in the NFL than Kirk Cousins. I mean, just a couple of short years ago, prior to a knee injury, he was up as a top MVP candidate the year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's come out this year, and he's played up to his contract, Jonathan. That first game loss that they suffered to the Falcons because of all of the injuries to the receivers wasn't his fault. He stayed healthy. I don't know if he can stay healthy all year, but as long as he's healthy, the Eagles always have a chance.
Here's a game that you have to just shake your head. When you look at the amount of money, who doesn't want $155 million? The Matt Ryan-led Atlanta Falcons 1-4 at the Arizona Cardinals 1-3-1. That's a 4:05 kickoff East Coast time Sunday on Fox Sports. And the Falcons are favored by 2.5. Big C. I would ask him what bird tastes better, Falcon or Cardinal, but none of them taste pretty good at this time. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, both of them right now have been playing a little bit rancid, Charlton. They both got the one win on the season, even though the Cardinals have a half-game lead over the Falcons. This is a game where Coach Quinn is coaching for his life. If the Atlanta Falcons lose this game, Dan Quinn won't see another 2 weeks in the NFL. He'll just be gone. Arthur Blank won't stand for it any longer.
Well, it's amazing how things change. The Titans 2-3 at the Broncos 1-4. These teams have Super Bowl pedigree, Big C. 4:05 kickoff East Coast time Sunday on CBS Sports. And the Broncos are favored by 2.5. Can they go on a 2-game win streak, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Marcus Mariota is the most mysterious quarterback in the NFL. You talk about a Jekyll and Hyde. 1 week he throws 3 touchdowns against the Atlanta Falcons and beat them at home. Then he goes on the road and lays an egg, Charlton. I guess he got an egg from the Falcons when he was there in the stadium. But, you know, when you look at Joe Flacco, he's been a mystery in Denver all year. He just has not adapted to what they do. They finally ran the ball last week, and Philip Lindsay delivered in leading them to a victory, even though the quarterback got credit for it.
Yeah, quarterback got credit. You know, sometimes when you think about players that you want to see succeed, I want to see everybody do well, but you got to earn it. How about some Cowboys? They're 3-2 at the New York Jets. They're 0-4. It's a 4:25 kickoff East Coast time Sunday on CBS Sports, and the Cowboys are favored by 6.5. I just got to say that Sam Darnold will be back from mononucleosis. And I guess you get that by handshakes, Big C?
Well, you know, everybody has been on the Dak Prescott bandwagon, blasting Dak over the last 2 weeks in the Dallas Cowboys losses. Look at where Dak is statistically. He's a third-ranked quarterback in the NFL in every category. He has not done his part for the Dallas Cowboys. His running back has not showed up in the past couple of games. He's fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
Jason Witten's fumbled the ball. The defense did not stop the Dallas Cowboys. The last I checked, Dak Prescott wasn't pass rushing. He wasn't playing linebacker, and he wasn't defending anybody in the secondary. He has done what he is asked to do for the Dallas Cowboys. The rest of the team needs to step up against the New York Jets.
What can we expect from Sam Darnold? I know he might be fresh, obviously coming off the mononucleosis. You got to be careful who you kiss. You don't know who they were sucking on before you started kissing on them. Sam Darnold, at least some hand sanitizer might have helped him. Do you expect anything from Darnold? He didn't play that great when he was healthy, Big C. Your thoughts?
I expect 3 interceptions from him and a loss.
Yeah, at least he's consistent with that. I do wish the man nothing but the best. Big C, the Steelers. What happened to the Steel Curtain? They're 1-4 at the LA Chargers 2-3. It's an 8:20 kickoff East Coast time Sunday on NBC Sports, and the Chargers are favored by 6. But the Steelers have lost some close games. It's not as if they've been blown out. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Steelers are down to a rookie free agent third-string quarterback this week. Rudolph wasn't cleared from the concussion protocol, so they're going to be playing a rookie free agent out of Stanford University. Phillip Rivers should feast on the Steelers' defense this week, Charlton. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen should have big days against the Steelers' defense.
It's amazing. How does NBC bring their marquee, a 5:20 kickoff game? That's going to be the great Al Michaels. It's anathema to NFL, which is all about bigness, Big C. Big cars, big contract, big stadiums. How do they justify playing in front of 27,000 for their marquee game, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it's part of the contractual agreement of the NFL. I mean, yes, the Chargers are still stuck there in that little stadium, Charlton, but it's about notoriety and where the Chargers season was last year. If you look at them, they were the hottest team in the NFL in the second half of the season. They went on 11-1 streak in the latter part, so it warranted them getting primetime home games. You look at them having a primetime home game, Charlton, in their record versus Cleveland. Cleveland has not had a 500 season in decades. And yet they have more primetime games than a team that's been to the playoffs consecutively.
Yeah, that's a very good. Phillis Rivers versus Baker Mayfield. I think you would give it to Rivers, but Mayfield's been on TV more. They have the Detroit Lions. They're 2-1-1 at the Green Bay Packers 4-1. That's 8:15 kickoff Eastern Time on Monday Night Football. ESPN has the game, and it's at Lambeau Field, and the Packers are only favored by 3.5 at home versus the Lions. Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at Aaron Rodgers, he has not been a world beater this year. Matthew Stafford has played better than advertised. He's had one of his better starts to the season. Aaron Jones is the best part of the Green Bay offense. They have to keep running through him. He had 4 touchdowns on the ground last week versus the Cowboys. Like I said, I think Dak Prescott was playing defense when he rushed for those 4 touchdowns in that Dallas loss. But he's been the catalyst for the Packers offense. And if they keep running through him, they'll have success against the Lions.
Well, I look forward to it. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, worldwide on the #1 podcast network in the universe on iHeartRadio Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Apple Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Google Podcasts. You can follow Big C Sports on Speaker.com. You can follow Big C Sports on my favorite apps called Google and Alexa. Just say Google or Alexa, play Big C Sports Podcast. You'll hear from our sponsors. You'll hear welcome to the show. I will introduce Big C as the mystic, and he'll do his thing. And I really appreciate where we're going with Big C Sports. Also coming soon to Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire Stick TV, Amazon TV, already on Xfinity Comcast. Big C, I want to think about something. You ever have a fistful of gold? And that means you got gold for at least 8 slam on your hand. The San Francisco 49ers, they're 4-0. They have 4 Super Bowl championships. They're trying to find a fistful of gold, and a lot of people think they're going to get close to it this year. They're 4-0. They have to go to L.A. and play the L.A. Rams 3-2. We know fires all over L.A., so a lot of evacuations. Don't know how that's going to affect the game on Sunday. It's a 4:05 p.m. kickoff East Coast time, Sunday on Fox Sports, and the L.A. Rams and their mighty coach and quarterback, they're only favored by 3.5 against the once lowly 49ers. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, this at one point was a rivalry back in the 80s when you think about these two great organizations. The Rams when they were in Anaheim, and then when they moved on to St. Louis after that. But these teams used to battle consistently for the West Coast supremacy, and they're back at it once again. I like the San Francisco 49ers in this game just because of their defense. When you think about the front seven that the 49ers have, they're playing as well as any front seven in the NFL.
Yeah.
The Rams are banged up coming out of that loss to Seattle. Todd Gurley is questionable for this game. I actually don't think that he'll play. Now a lot of pressure is going to be on Jared Goff and the backup running backs, the tight ends. How can he utilize them in this game? We know that the 49ers have a great running game. They lead the NFL in rushing.
Yep.
And that's an Achilles heel for everybody. You think about the Rams' success last year, they were leading the NFL in rushing with Todd Gurley up until he got banged up.
Yeah.
And so this is a flip your script scenario on the West Coast. The 49ers are a hot team. I think the Rams are going to suffer back-to-back losses.
Who's the NFL's prodigal quarterback on the West Coast? Is it Garoppolo or is it still Goff? Big C, your thoughts?
I think the media now has swung towards Russell Wilson when you think about prodigal quarterback. He's lead the NFL in touchdown passes with 0 interceptions. Both of these quarterbacks in this game have shown vulnerabilities and kinks in their armor.
Yeah.
When you think about Jared Goff, he has the most passing yards in a single game this year in a loss to Tampa Bay. Deshaun Watson came close to eclipsing that, but Deshaun Watson won his game against Atlanta. So if I'm looking at these two quarterbacks head-to-head, I'm going to take Jared Goff. He's the better passer of the two. He's more efficient with the football. Jimmy Garoppolo, you want him to have a strong running game. That's what makes him an adequate quarterback.
That's very interesting, Big C. It's all fair in love and war, and I love what's happening in the world of sports. I want to say in some black history, Big C, going back to October 11th, actually 1773, with the help of owners, is a slave that was sponsored. Her name is poet Phillis Wheatley. She saw her first book closed. It's called Poems of Various Subjects in Religious and Moral Grounds. It was published in England. She returned to the United States October 11, 1773, and living in Boston, they gave her some opportunity. Big C, she's the first African-American woman author to publish a book on her own, and the second woman in the United States. I think that's great for someone who's dealing with slavery and all those issues. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, the sad part about that, it gets buried in history, Charlton. The accomplishments of African-American people in early America was never put on a national stage. You could publish something, but it was buried about you publishing it, and it didn't make the national landscape because white society didn't want to believe that blacks were intelligent enough to educate them. And so this is something that throughout the history books, as you spoke about, have been omitted from American society, that blacks were keen mind of and intelligence, that they could offer intelligence to the rest of the nation, and it was hidden by those in power.
That's very true. So we love bringing you Black History. We also love bringing you Big C's Friday Night Lights. If you're down in Southern California, please heed the warning. With all the weather and all the fires going, be safe out there no matter what you're doing. College football, hopefully you have a lot of tailgating, and everybody please stay safe, no drinking and driving. And we love bringing you NFL football. Major League Baseball is going to decide which teams get to the World Series in the next week or two, Big C, and we love bringing it to you. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Goudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, with the chill going over the Midwest tonight and the Washington Nationals playing under the arch in St. Louis, will those Nationals stay hot? Coming from Canada, we know it was freezing up there. It's a little warmer in D.C., a little warmer in St. Louis.
Yeah.
I like the Nationals' chances of getting to the World Series.
Well, everybody wants to win a World Series, and you can win one too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone and call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.